Our almost 4-year-old mare. She was born at our place, and the biggest challenge with her is just to touch her, basically. She doesn't like to be touched by people. On the lead rope, it's more manageable, but you always need to stay sharp and always keep the shoulder quite close to me. If I don't, she just swing her backside towards me and try to kick me or just ran off. She's never really enjoyed being around people, but when she's get older, it's getting worse. So I really hope you can pick this case or some similar case, so I finally can help to get Rinka a happy life, just being relaxed and maybe let her see that people can be fun to hang out with.
So a really interesting case with Hanneke's horse, Rinka. It's not a standard case, of course. You're having a young foal and you expect a nice experience and to watch your horse grow and have all nice interactions. And from the beginning, I see a small clip from maybe when she was little, that it already was a little bit of a character. And so it's important, of course, from the beginning that those interactions with humans are shaped correctly. And that's often where it stems from. Her interaction with other horses, depending on how the mother is also really important, of course. And sometimes if we notice that we have a kind of a sweet mother that's not really guiding the foal into how the normal social interaction should be, then we have a mother that's quite sweet, and then the behavior starts to become more and more dominant. And if the humans then experience from the beginning this aggressive behavior and we have an adverse reaction of, oh, this is not good, and the horse feels some kind of comfort from pushing, owning the space, pushing people away, or we have the other direction where we start to put pressure, we start to give it meaning by acting aggressively back. This, of course, shapes that defense more. Then the horses feel, oh, I need to become more aggressive, the one that's more pushy, the one that's more dominant, because we're then dealing with that natural instinct of hierarchy, the survival bit. If I get pushed down, then there's a risk of me not surviving. And so the important part about where she's at now is, of course, the why. Not exactly the emotional why she's doing it all of the time, and we get into a sort of personal narrative that she doesn't like humans and it's a terrible situation, but that we know that there's not a physical discomfort. It's really important. So with mares, often we can have something with their reproductive organs that is causing a discomfort, something within the system that's creating an imbalance in the hormones, so we have a hormonal imbalance, but also just physically that there's no pain. We can do some pain recognition tests. Of course, going through the TRT foundational guidance patterns can help you to find out those things. The story is not uncommon for me that when a horse is having these kind of outlooks and this kind of defense, what they feel inside is the need to defend all the time. And when they are exposed to one person, they have a kind of dialogue, an interaction, a social behavior that over time they allow more things. Things are more predictable, so they're less defensive. And it's the unknown when they go into an interaction with somebody else, like you explained your father putting the halter on, having to go in, that's then an unpredictable interaction. She doesn't trust because she doesn't know exactly what his intentions are and what he's going to do. Because she's in the defense, her whole body is already in a predict and protect, like, oh, I have to get ready because maybe I don't trust this situation. And of course, that comes through the cycle that exists in the body that is proving distrust all the time, to her environment. And so what's really important in these cases is that we don't focus on the human element of what can we do and what can't we do. That's totally irrelevant at the moment, because then that puts focus on what we're going to do with her or to her, and that puts focus in her system on the defense of the not knowing what we're going to do and if I can trust that, because she's already in a defensive, non-trusting state. So we can go through a lot of exercises, but if we don't change that mindset of being in a mentor diagnostic position in our conversations, that we're trying to find out where in the body is the pattern not serving her, where does tension really lie, where is the protection, where are the big guards standing, defending the stomach, defending the head, the ears, the back end, the tail, whatever it is, what is it in the physiology that is really the red zone that says don't go there? And how can we go into the diagnosis of finding those areas and allowing the horse to feel a change and the empowerment of a different narrative in association to those parts of the body. So approach, of course, will be something, being able to navigate and ask the horse to move away from a certain area will be difficult. But if we're not thinking of the respect thing and the moving away and getting away, but we really teach them to focus on how is the sensation in the body. We're not teaching them a behavior, we're trying to teach them and have a dialogue with the feeling. What should you feel? How can you feel? What is your body telling you? Why is it telling you that? How can you change what your body is telling, so that the horse starts to have a different interaction and conversation with their body? And when they have a different feeling, a different sensation internally, then what the reflection of the external world is projecting on them also changes. But if the body is always in this state of readiness and defense, anything that happens outside of them is going to give a feeling of a reaction to defend more. So when we change that shift and that focus, that is the most important bit of the real progression, really changing how the horse feels. And when you change how she feels, you change how she thinks, and then of course you change how she behaves. So when going into interactions with the horse, you have to find in the beginning what is the interaction where you feel you have the most dialogue, you can use the most words, you can have different lines of conversation. You know, that might be in the halter with the rope, that might be in the beginning free, you know, and it may seem in the beginning that, you know, okay, I feel safest and I can do the most with her and to her when I'm in the halter and lead. But when you change the shift of the focus of how does she feel, that might be better done, you know, in a round pen with a larger amount of distance, where you have an interaction of we're going this way and we can turn and we can go the other way, and we have a shift through movement and an interaction of energies without there being a direct connection of impact or going across the line of the threshold, which puts the body into a reflex reaction of protection. And you have to think about this as reading where the body feels like it needs to defend and she can't control it, and where is the line where she can feel the tension and be able to turn it around. And that might be just close proximity in the beginning, it might be in a distance, it might be with touch, with contact. And with these sorts of horses in the beginning, I don't ever have a conversation or an interaction that is not dealing with how do you feel and how can you change that feeling. So there's no basic interaction without that meaning. So going in and just brushing her and not having an interaction and a meaning will in the end allow the body to just react to things because we're not focusing on the intention. And that's where a lot of these horses, and you mentioned a small bit there, when you're standing and doing nothing, then the nothingness creates the body to start to think, the circulation of energy gets more of because you do nothing, there's no indication of what could happen next. And the not knowing says, oh, well, I better already defend before something happens that I don't trust. And so having all these interactions for me in the beginning is about staying in that dialogue, really going to the source, the cause of what the horse is feeling in the body. Can they feel their own physiology? Can they change that feeling in the physiology? That also changes then the focus of it being a learnt experience that you can trust with another. That in the end she can only do things with you because she gets used to the way you go about things, and she learns over time, okay, she's not really done something drastic. I can feel her intention. I know how she's going to go about things, so I can trust that there's not going to be something happening that I have to defend. And you shift that to focus on yourself. So you become very neutral in the way that you're mentoring and guiding. You're only creating a filter for her to feel in her body what's happening. Focus on self, know oneself. When you can get control of your physiology, you start to control the situation and not feel like you're out of control and you need to defend. This is the defining moment in which the horses start to self-regulate. And when they believe that it's within themselves, then they feel less of the ability to control the environment and the people that are in it, because they know they can give themselves a different feeling by controlling themselves, by focusing on themselves. So it shouldn't be an external conversation all the time. Move back, go over there. And when you control her enough, and you get enough discipline, which is often where when you send a horse to a trainer, you know, they see the symptoms and they're like, well, we want to stop her from doing this. We want to stop her from kicking. We want to stop her from, you know, showing aggression or biting or putting the ears back or coming towards us. And then it becomes a sort of battle of the wills, of the power, of the discipline, of the this is what you shouldn't do, which is a suppression of what's actually going on. Some horses can get really in a shutdown moment then when there's no expression of self, which can stay in that state for a little while, and then when they see an opening of defense, they try to escape that prison in which we've put them in. And that's also, of course, not a place to be. The one positive thing I liked to hear was that your focus was that you want to just give her a feeling that she can be relaxed and happy in the environment in which she's existing in. And I think that in the beginning should be the major focus through the things that I explained now. And it's really the mindset of what you need to focus on, not a specific exercise, because that'll change every day. You have to let the feeling and the sensation of the focus of giving her the right feeling and bringing her the right focus guide you into what do we do today? How do we diagnose a certain part of the body? Where do we bring it? Do we bring attention more to the front or the back, or in movement or in freedom, or what is that going to be? And that will change every day, but let the idea and the concept of what you're trying to teach her guide you into which exercise. Of course, the TRT framework, the foundational guidance patterns will give you a framework and give you exercises to do, but it's very important of what you focus on within those things that will allow the improvement to come, the real change. And it's always the same. What we focus on is what is the thing that improves. But understanding really what you're focusing on is the most important thing. Because we say sometimes we have a horse that's aggressive and he kicks out. Okay, we focus on teaching him not to kick out. Does that improve? Sometimes not, because what are you focusing on? Are you really focusing on the cause and the horse being able to change that? Or are you focusing on the symptom and trying to control that or suppress that or prevent that? So it's really what we focus on. What is the cause? And if we focus on the cause of the feeling, the sensation that the horse is having, which gives the reason for defense, then you really change the whole picture and everything as a global moment. The other thing to focus on is that from the outside, this looks like a really extreme case. And there are situations, of course, that what makes it extreme is it can be dangerous. So, you know, it's not a sort of cookie cutter, straightforward program. But the simplicity comes in what you focus on and what you're looking to diagnose, and that you're comfortable to have a basic interaction. And when you shift that focus, it is possible. It's not a highly complex thing. And the more you get deep into the right focus, giving the horse the right feelings, the more you really understand the empowerment of how to get a horse to self-manage and self-regulate and really change how they feel in the world that they're living in.